Okay, so everybody get settled. So I'm David Price. I'm from Nuestra. I welcome you on behalf of not only Nuestra, but Windale Developers, Arnold Johnson and George Chin. Arnold, let's ever give a round of applause for Arnold and George. I'm just going to be your MC, call folks up, recognize some folks who are here who may not be speaking, and just to get some of those, I definitely want to give a shout out to the myriad of folks who supported this financially and otherwise, including Massachusetts DHCD, Matt Seedale's here, from Bank of America, Robert Terrell, Alicia Verity, Susan Moreau, Angelica Civilis. I want to thank them. Chris Scoville from Eastern Bank. Karen Kelleher is here from LISC. So now I want to call up our first speaker on behalf of Nuestra, Kelvin Huarbe, the treasurer of our board.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. My name is Kelvin Huarbe, and I am the treasurer of the Nuestra Comunidad Board of Directors. And we're here today with some of our best supporters, like the mayor, our elected officials. We also have some of my fellow board members in the audience, Bill Roxbury, Reverend Tolentino, Joe Sklar, Scott Pollock. And I'm very proud on their behalf and on behalf of Nuestra and Windale Developers, our staff, to welcome all of you to Bartlett Station. It was 9 years ago today that Nuestra and Windale purchased the former Bartlett Yard MBTA bus facility. Working with the community, we developed a shared vision for Bartlett Station. And today, we're celebrating the first phase of that vision. The community asked for housing that is 2/3 affordable and middle class in order to help prevent displacement. And today, 76 families living here will not be pushed out by gentrification. The community asked for job opportunities for local workers, and we've done that, with over 75% of construction jobs going to workers of color. The community asked for contracting opportunities for minority business enterprises, and we've done that, with 55% of contracting dollars going to MBEs. The community asked for permanent jobs, and we've done that, with up to 100 jobs anticipated here on Washington Street. The community asked for amenities that will help promote health for the Roxbury families, and we've done that, with the Good Food Markets Community Supermarket and Liberty Fitness opening later on this year. The community asked for beautiful open spaces for families to enjoy, with arts that reflect Roxbury's unique history and culture, and we've done that. There are plans for a new public arts park called Oasis at Bartlett, right here behind this building. In fact, there's a family arts day happening this Saturday right here on Bartlett patio, and there's an arts festival happening next month on September 28th. And finally, the community asked to be involved in all the planning for Bartlett Station, and we've done that. The buildings today and the plans for building over 320 new homes across the site were created with the help of our elected officials, the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Oversight Committee, the Bartlett Project Review Committee, many local neighborhood associations, and many, many individual neighbors. Today, we thank all of you and celebrate your success. Give yourselves a round of applause. And with that, I have the honor and privilege to introduce to you and let you hear from our mayor and Roxbury's champion, Mayor Marty Walsh.
This is an exciting day. This is, I was saying to the Councilor Janey, this is our in the city of Boston, third ribbon cutting this week of housing for working class people and for low income. Two in Roxbury, Fenway, Roxbury, and over in Eastie the other day. So it's an exciting time in the city. I want to first of all thank Nuestra. All of the board members and all of the folks that they've done for your deep commitment, and it's great to see this project as you think about the housing which is needed, but to the commitment for the employment, the people working on the job site, the contractors working on the job site, creating more opportunities and building that up is so important, because this project will be over and those companies and those workers will be looking for another place to go, and the skills that they attain on this job are so important. So thank you, Nuestra, for your great work. They deserve a round of applause. I want to thank City Councilor Kim Janey, who's with us today, who's a champion, Representative China Tyler, who's here today, is a champion, and any other elected officials that show up. I want to thank you for being here today. We have the president of Harvard, Larry Bacow, who's here. I had the chance to meet Larry. Last year he took over as new president of Harvard University, and in years past, the Harvard president was focused on the school of Harvard, obviously, Harvard University. Larry and his predecessor is focused on Harvard, obviously, but also focused on how do we create better opportunities and better connections to the neighborhood. This is not his first time in the communities. He's all over the city. He wants to, we talk all the time about different things they want to do at Harvard, and he ties it into what they want, how do they tie into the community of Boston, Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan. How do we create opportunities? How do we get more opportunities for those kids, our kids in these neighborhoods, to actually not just drive by Harvard or go there for a program, but actually go there for school. So, Mr. President, thank you very much for what you do. There's a lot of community partners here today, and I'm not going to name you all because I'll get in trouble if I forget somebody. But I want to thank you all for making this happen. As I look around, there's a collaboration of a lot of great institutions that you represent, and a lot of great people here. Thank you very much for being here and making this happen, and companies and other things that are here. Thank you. To the community, congratulations. This is an amazing day. I mean, I remember I was a state rep back when this conversation was going on, and thinking about what the vision would be for here, and seeing that you have, in order to get the full map built out, you need the first project done, and you need to get that first step. You can't run if you can't walk, and you can't walk if you can't crawl, and you can't crawl if you can't roll over. And this is so exciting today, really, to start to see this beautiful area to come, this project to come into fruition. So thank you to the community as well for all your great work. And there is one guy that I want to give a special shout out to because it's his 60th birthday. That's Paul Grogan. Today's his birthday. You know, I got a text from a friend of his earlier today, and he said today's Paul's birthday. You're going to see him later on. So those of you that don't know Paul Grogan, you should know Paul Grogan. He's the head of the Boston Foundation, in the investments that they've made into all of Boston in so many different areas have been amazing, whether it's been housing or environmental justice or anything they do. They do so much. So I want to thank Paul, and happy birthday to you, Paul, today. We're celebrating, as you heard, the first phase of Bartlett Station. This, as you know, this was a vacant lot owned by the state. We're going to have an incredible mixed-use, trans-oriented development. You can see on the map to your right, my left, what it's going to look like, and you can see the map to my right, your left, the MBTA, and that's a brand new Orange Line train right there in the middle of that. So we're going to make sure the new Orange Line trains are coming right by this area. So you see that here, but it is exciting, and you know, 76 affordable units, as you heard, but one thing I want to pop out, 5 units for homeless individuals, an area that we're focusing on. In the last 5 years, we've housed 1,900 chronically homeless people in the city of Boston that are in a home today, and we have to continue that work. So there's so much work there we have to do. This is also, it's also, as was mentioned, Washington Street. You're going to have the good food market moving in soon, grocery providing access to fresh, healthy food, a kitchen, classroom, and job training. So they're going to have that on Washington Street. We have a brand new Dunkin' Donuts down the street. We have a lot of activity happening right here. You see a lot of ladders on homes. You see a lot of people remodeling and fixing and cleaning. You go right into Dudley Square, the same thing. We're working, you're seeing storefronts that we're going to be working to improve. We're working with different organizations to really work to make sure that people take pride in their community. Many of the people that own businesses down in Dudley, the buildings, they don't live in the neighborhood, but we want them to know they make their money here. So if you're going to make your money here, make sure you fix your building as well. That's what we're going to be asking you to do. There's going to be a fitness center here. Amenities that you see. Oftentimes people talk about the South Boston waterfront, and you know, they got this and they got that and they get this and they get that, and other places don't have it. Grocery store here, they don't have it. Fitness center, they have a few, we have some. It's important for us to make sure that the amenities in every neighborhood, depending on where it is, come to this community, this neighborhood. Bartlett Station took more than a decade to plan. There was advocacy, hard work by the Roxbury community. Again, I want to thank Nuestra, and I want to thank Windale, and I want to thank the community. I want to thank all of you for what you've done. This process truly was a community-driven process, and that's something that's really important and people should be very proud of. As I mentioned earlier, we celebrated 3 developments this week: Paris Village in East Boston, Newcastle, Saranac in the Fenway area. Every single one of these projects that we were working, where we're preserving housing or building new housing, it has partnerships. You can't do it alone. The city can't do it alone. The state can't do it alone. Individuals can't do it alone. Community groups can't do it alone. We have to work together. We have to continue to move together. And that's what's special about Boston, is that we truly do work together. We work together. We might fight behind the doors, and we might argue back and forth a little bit, sometimes get a little tempered, but that's all right. At the end of the day, we're able to come to a ribbon cutting or a groundbreaking and say, wow, it was worth it at the end of the day, because we know the families are going to move in here. Families right now that might be living in situations or conditions that aren't what they should be, and they're going to have a chance to be here in this neighborhood and live in this neighborhood and enjoy Washington Street and enjoy the amenities that are here today. This station, I want to thank the partners who made it possible. Again, I'm not going to go into too many because I'll get in trouble, but I want to thank CDAC, because they were with me yesterday, the state, Harvard, all of our local partnerships. Right now, these uncertain times of not having federal investment makes our job even more important. Oftentimes, we sit, myself and Sheila Dillon, who's here from our housing department, when I became the mayor in 2014, we realized that we were having a lot of interest in people wanting to come into the city, move into the city. We realized that we didn't know at the time, we're on the bubble of creating 120,000 new jobs in 5 years. We didn't realize that Boston was going to just take off, and already taken off, but just take off. But what we did realize, we didn't have enough housing. And we put together a housing plan to create 53,000 units of new housing by the year 2030 to get to 700,000 people in population. And a year and a half into that, we realized that our goal is we're going to shatter this goal, and the demand is so much higher than that. So we upped our housing goal to 69,000 units by the year 2030. That includes 16,000 affordable units, and it also allows us to continue to maintain our lead in subsidized units in the country. But what we didn't know back in 2014, 2015, is that we didn't have a lot of investment in federal government back then, but we didn't realize that we were going to have almost zero investment in federal government. We didn't realize that we don't have a housing plan nationally. And the challenges that we're facing here in Boston, other cities and towns across America are facing the same challenges, with not having opportunities for people to live in, people being forced out of their home. Those things, we couldn't stand by and let that happen in Boston. And what we did was we tried to be creative. We might not be perfect, but we're leading the country in a lot of different ways. We went out and raised the inclusionary development funds, where $1 million came into this project. We went out and looked at linkage, where $1 million came into this project. That's $2 million that helps piece something together. We still have more work to do. And I would ask us, rather than point fingers at each other, how do we work together collectively to push the national policy, the national conversation on housing? How do we make sure that everybody in our city, in our state, in our country has a place to live at night? We're dealing with a lot of challenges with addiction and with homelessness and with families that just are poor. And how do we make sure they have opportunities to live in a safe place, a clean place, a place that they can walk out the front door and take a right and go to a supermarket, take a left, go to a fitness center, grab a cup of coffee, sit in a clean park, whatever it might be. That's our job. That's what our job is. And that's all of our jobs collectively. And I just want to, again, thank you, the partners here, and we're going to continue to move forward. We won't stop working until everyone in the city has a place to call home. That's what the people of Boston and the residents of Boston deserve and need. And I can't stress enough, and I can't thank enough, the people who made this first phase of Bartlett Station happen. So if you were just sitting in on a meeting, if you convince your boss to lend money to this project, if you were part of a conversation, whatever you were, whoever you are, the people that are going to clean this building, I want to thank you all, because that's what we should do. We are one community here in the city of Boston, and we need to continue to move forward. So thank you very much. And I don't know if the residents were picked yet, but any potential residents, future residents, good luck. And myself and the council and the rep are willing to come over for coffee any day.
Okay, good. Now we're windproof. So to recognize a couple other folks, you heard the themes that we're trying to create a healthier community, a strong, resilient, healthy community, and a number of partners really helped make that happen, including a new joint venture called the Healthy Neighborhood Equity Fund. And the folks here from Mass Housing Investment Corporation who helped start that, Joe Flatley, Scott Backman, Alan Caracciolo, Dave Addis, and the Conservation Law Foundation was the co-founder of this fund. Brad Campbell is here, Maggie Superchurch, Janet Daisley, Alex Linkow. And they put money into the supermarket and the other healthy features of this development. And they're going to do more across Boston and the Boston area. From Mass Development, who helped to clean up the contamination in the ground, David Bancroft is here. From the EPA on the federal level, Sean Dixon, Frank Gardner are here, who also helped us clean up the contamination. From Boston Medical Center, who put money into the supermarket, the fitness center, Kate Walsh, the CEO, Dr. Thea James, Dr. Megan Sandel. So those are just some of the partners who helped really promote this development as an emerging healthy neighborhood. So now I'd like to call up our next speaker, who's only two and a half years into her tenure as the state rep here, stepping into the shoes of a long-serving state rep, and already a tremendous champion for Roxbury and all of her district. I'd like to call up China Tyler, our state representative.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, David. Again, my name is China Tyler, state representative of this district, the 7th Suffolk District. And simply put, I'm a lifetime Roxbury resident, which is the reason why I'm even more happy to be here today. Before I go into my quick remarks, I just wanted to thank all the partners. And again, I won't get into naming everyone, but really quickly, Mayor Walsh and the City of Boston, Nuestra, CDC, Harvard, and the Windale team. I'd like to thank all you all, because without you, this project wouldn't be moving forward. And I also like to thank you even more because we're finally delivering truly affordable units to Roxbury, which I know is very, very important to many of the other residents here. And just really quickly put, Mayor Walsh said it all, but if I were to add on to anything that he said, that this project is very, very vital because it gives individuals and families who may not otherwise have had the opportunity to live in Boston to stay in Boston, but more importantly, in the most vibrant neighborhood of them all, Roxbury. So I appreciate you all for that. And so I look forward to, I know this is one of many phases, so I look forward to continuing to support you, David, and your team, and making sure that this entire project comes true. And I look forward to continuing to cut many more ribbons with you. So next, really quickly, I'd like to introduce a gentleman that's from a small town like ours here in Boston, Pontiac, Michigan, to be exact. This gentleman really gets what it means to foster small towns and communities like here in Boston, because he is from one as well. And he also understands what it means to invest in students that come from small towns like myself, as I am a product of one of the very many, probably the most important to me because I'm from the programs on Harvard University that gives students of small towns an opportunity to be able to be prepared for college, the Crimson Summer Academy. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for those opportunities. He and his team also invest in Roxbury a great deal, if you don't know, through the Family Health Fan that sits in Dudley. Many of you guys have saw in passing, students like myself in this project. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to the president of Harvard University, Mr. Larry Bacow.
Good morning, everybody. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you as we celebrate this remarkable achievement, this remarkable place here in Roxbury. I want to thank Mayor Walsh for being here, Councilor Janey, Sheila Dillon, members of the Bartlett Station sort of development team and community, and Nuestra for all they've done to help make today possible. Just being here is a bit of a homecoming for me. I look out, I see all sorts of old friends from different parts of my life. I spent 24 years teaching in the Department of Urban Studies and Planning at MIT, and it's been fun just to come back and meet former students of mine who are here, former colleagues of mine who are here, people that I've interacted in my life, not just at MIT, but then during my 10 years at Tufts and now at Harvard as well. I want to say a special thanks to Representative Tyler. Let me tell you, Harvard is as proud of you as you are of your affiliation with Harvard. We appreciate your continuing support for what we are trying to do in the community, our efforts to collaborate, as well as your your own leadership, which I think is what we all need at this time. This country needs more leaders. It needs more leaders who are committed to extending opportunity to future generations, just as it has been extended to so many of each of us. This is a time when people need a chance. We need to make sure that the American dream does not die. And I think opportunities like this, projects like this, are evidence of that. So thank you very much for your leadership, and we are proud to have you as our representative, because you also represent the Longwood Medical Area, which includes a bunch of schools at Harvard. So thank you, Representative Tyler. I think the challenge of developing affordable housing in Boston is a challenge that we all face, and everybody has a stake in it. And to find solutions to this will require, as the mayor says, all of us working together. And each institution has to do its part, and I'm proud that Harvard actually has a 20-year history and tradition of doing its part, which we owe to Paul Grogan, because Paul was the one who originally got us involved in this program back when he worked at Harvard. And I just want to say again to you, Paul, thanks for one of many, many great ideas which continue to live on today. If there are meaningful connections to our communities that led Harvard to create this sort of first-in-its-kind program in affordable housing more than 2 decades ago that's now known as the Harvard Local Housing Collaborative. This partnership, through this partnership, we have committed $20 million to support affordable housing in Boston and in Cambridge. We make these loans possible through our partners, and I want to recognize them. We've enjoyed a long-standing relationship with LISC, with Blue Hub Capital, and Cambridge Affordable Housing Trust. And they've enabled us to work together with our community partners to create and preserve now over 7,000 affordable housing units across more than 180 developments in Boston and Cambridge over the past decade. And I'm pleased that we are, thank you. And I'm pleased that we're in a position to renew and once again pledge $20 million going forward so that we can continue this good work that we've done together. We actually made an announcement on our campus just yesterday that we were doing this. It came out in the Harvard Gazette. And I received an email from a member of our community, the Harvard community, actually a very senior level administrator at Harvard. And I had no idea about his story, but I want to share the email with you because I think it speaks to the importance of affordable housing for literally everybody in Boston. About 11 years ago, my family qualified for housing assistance in Cambridge. My wife and I both come from families of very meager means. Back then, I was a postdoc at Boston Children's Hospital. My small family included my wife and 2 kids, ages 14 and 16. Those were hard times for us financially. As a postdoc, I worked in the lab every day, as well as in outside jobs on the weekend, mostly cleaning houses to make ends meet. We were living paycheck to paycheck for the most part until we heard about the Cambridge Housing Assistance Program. Though it was not part of the Harvard initiative, as far as I know, our Cambridge-based program helped us to buy our own condo, a first floor and a typical 3-decker on a nice little street in North Cambridge. Our small condo is the first home I have ever owned or lived in that wasn't on wheels or rented. We would have never been able to purchase our own home without the Cambridge program. It allowed us to put down roots in Massachusetts and no doubt facilitated my own ability to remain here as a member of the Harvard community over many years. To say that we are grateful doesn't even come close. It changed our lives. Programs like this change lives for all sorts of people. All of us at one point or another needed a break. We needed somebody who believed in us. We needed institutions that got together to invest in us, to be able to help us find a better path forward. We are incredibly proud and humbled to be part of this community that has come together, so many different organizations, to make affordable housing possible for people in Roxbury, in Greater Boston, and in Cambridge. It's a privilege to work with all of you. We will be here for you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize some other folks who helped make this possible before our next speaker. I know we have our friends here from the Federal Home Loan Bank, Jean Greenberg, Toby Goldberg, Sherman Francis. We've got from Blue Hope Capital, Michelle Volpe, Sean O'Neill, Macy Law Sanson, Jennifer Angarita, Galina Kim, Karen Kelleher from LISC, from Enterprise Community Partners, Alma Valanon Rosen, from CDAC, Roger Herzog, Madeline Nash, NeighborWorks America, Michael Williams. And finally, I want to recognize two people who really made this happen because they filled that important job of project manager. One of them started it, one of them finished it. First, I want to recognize Mark Mattel, who was here some 5 or 6 years ago as the initial project manager, now with Enterprise, and Diane Clark, who brought it to the finish line, who's now the leader of our real estate team here at Nuestra. Oh, there you are. Okay, thank you. You moved on me. So I just want to make sure to recognize the folks who really made it happen on the ground and appreciate their work. And now I want to introduce our City Councilor, Kim Janey, for Roxbury for District 7, who is like Representative Tyler and the mayor, a true champion for Roxbury. I think a number of us remember the packed room at the bowling building maybe 4 months ago about concerns around gentrification that brought the entire community together. Some of us were in another packed room earlier this week at the Central Boston Elder Services, trying to address the impact of the opioid crisis humanely in Roxbury. And that's just two examples of how she truly works to pull everyone together to work in a positive direction for positive change. Let's bring up our City Councilor, Kim Janey.
Thank you so much. I will be very brief. You've heard from a number of speakers who have said it best. My name's Kim Janey. I grew up right on that street right there, right off of Lambert Ave, Norfolk Street, here in Roxbury, and have spent most of my life in this community. When I lived there on Norfolk Street as a little girl, it was such a big deal when, for the first time, I could kind of go to the store by myself around 10 or 11 years old. And then when I could venture off down Dudley to go to Spinelli's or to Nubian Notion, going to Woolworths or Robel's. That was, I think, for many of us who grew up in this community, a heyday of what being in Roxbury and close to Dudley Square was in terms of the businesses here in this community. And I want to highlight that because this is an opportunity, yes, for affordable housing and to make sure that our neighbors and our residents are not displaced, but it is also an opportunity to support the businesses here in our community. Yes, indeed. And you've heard that this has been a long time in the making. I've been on the council now for 19 months, but 9 years ago at those meetings at the Dudley Library, I was there, and it was tough to really come up with a shared vision, one that is driven by the community. And I will say, I want to end where we began. And so you mentioned all of the things that the community wanted, you know, the importance of celebrating the arts and recognizing Dudley Square as a cultural district, making sure that we were respecting green space here, making sure that obviously we had the housing that we need in terms of making sure folks are not displaced from this community. All of that is happening here, and that is so important. I want to thank the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Oversight Committee for all of their work and making sure that this came to fruition. Someone mentioned them earlier, and the monitoring committee that I chair here in Roxbury to make sure that these construction jobs and that the MBEs and the WBEs were being hired for this project. And so very grateful that that work has happened and that the community has been engaged in that process to keep all of us accountable. And this was that shared vision. And the Highland Park community in particular really kind of drove this process in terms of making sure that this was not just about housing, but also this economic engine that we really need. Because to stay in our community, we've got to make sure that we have economic opportunities to grow as well. And so here we have housing that will provide a safe place for families here in our community, but also as a way of supporting small business. And so I'm very excited to be here. I'm very grateful for all of the people who made it happen. I want to shout out our mayor for his role in this, and all of the city departments. I see Sheila here. I know that she does amazing work. Certainly my colleagues in government at the state. Yes, give it up for all of the city folks, as well as the state folks. All of those who have brought resources to bear. Certainly want to thank David and Nuestra and his team, and Windale, and all of the folks that are here, but particularly the Highland Park community for all of their amazing advocacy and engagement to make sure that this project would come to light and that it would meet the needs of this community. So I'm just grateful and excited and ready to cut the ribbon. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. And to close us out and get us to our ribbon cutting, I want to bring up Arnold Johnson, who's one of the leaders of Windale Development, along with George Chin, for a few remarks, and then we'll have the ribbon cutting right here.
Good morning. This is a beautiful day. We were here about 2 years ago, and it was about 95 degrees, and everybody was melting. What I want to do, a lot of times when you have these types of events, you don't see the people that really were in the trenches. So we want to honor them. And so if you had anything to do with building this building, cleaning this building, whatever, come up and stand right here. Where's Julian?
Yeah, where's Julian? Come on. Good, come on.
This isn't a, one-time effort. This is an effort that started 30 years ago, when myself and George Chin here and Edward Farrier started our company. We noticed that we were underrepresented as far as minority contractors. And what we needed was that we needed to be ready for opportunity. And the opportunities that we shared are being passed on from company to company. We have a woman business enterprise here that did the sprinkler system for both buildings, 76 units. We have electrical, we have carpenters. All of these people this isn't their last job. This is just the beginning. Because as you can see, this is quality work. And this is only a fraction of them. Some of the guys are shy and they haven't come up. But last time I was here, I read a quote, and it said, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and ask why not." I want you to know, does anybody know who said that? Huh? RFK. RFK. See, you guys haven't learned a whole lot in the interim. A playwright named George Bernard Shaw wrote that, and the Kennedys, all of the Kennedys, Robert, John, and Teddy, they all used it and paraphrased it. But what I'm trying to say is that when you see things as they are, they won't remain as they are, but we need to be intentional about changing things. And I think we are intentional. People are growing, like the mayor says, they go from this project, they're going to the hotel, they're doing a lot of work here. You're gonna see these faces because these are quality craftsmen. We have a shortage of quality craftsmen here. And we need to train, and that's why I wanna ask the mayor to make sure that we get Madison Park Vocational up and running.
Amen.
Because not only for our youth, but for adult education. As I go by Blue Hill Regional at night is full, and all of the ladders on the rack, and it's full of adult education. So the kids have to have parents that are making a good living to work in Boston. So we need that type of services, and we have one of the biggest facilities in the state. Next, I want to give thanks, so to speak, to Marcia Thornhill. Where's Marcia? Hey, Marcia. Marcia was the impetus, basically. He said, you guys can do this, right? And it came from a long way, but we were so enamored by her leadership that we said, we're going to name that street Marcia Street.
Amen.
But we took it back from her. And why we did that, she left. She left and she went to work for another CDC. So we had to rip that sign down. We put up Bartlett Station. And I also want to commend Diane Clark.
Amen.
Diane Clark worked with us diligently as the project manager on a $22 million job, and it came out successful. And I want to commend her on that. Next, I want to commend our GC, our general contractor, on this building, which is Built Right Construction.
Amen. Very good.
Built Right has the same view as we have. I remember in the 1980s seeing John Sullivan riding up and down the street with a F-250. And that's how he started. And we've been friends with Metro Equipment, the Sullivans. They've been integral into bringing quality construction here. And we work with Chris on this job, and his foreman, Mike Kine. Yeah. So all of these things are not spur of the moment. It takes time. Sometimes it takes 30 years, but we have to be determined, and we will get what we deserve in this community, and it expands to every other community. What happens is you're not pinholed as a minority contractor. We want to be pinholed as quality, good contractors, period. So they say some sayings travel, and I think this travels, and we want us to travel, because when this job ends, we want to go with you, because you think that we're the quality contractors. So I want to thank the people on the ground, the people that have, been in the trenches for the last, well, we say 13 years because it was 9, and then we were preparing to buy the property 3 years prior to that. So it's been an arduous process, but we stuck it out, and we have people like you guys and our funders. I thank you all. There's many of you, and I hope you think it's worth the investment to come back and fill this up and fill this gap in, because there's no good thing comes when there's a gap. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.